Just wanted your thoughts on the two guards who you're riding with at least till Robert comes back from the hamstring. What does Liam do well from your experience with him at left guard, not center? What does Lester Cotton do well at right guard?
Yeah, I think that both guys, first off, their approach to how they do things is, and then we've talked about this before here. Their approach and how they handle from the meeting room to the field, their independent film studies is exactly what we want them to do, and so I think the versatility that they provide. Obviously, we've already seen Liam be at center. It bodes well because of their approach, right? And so the versatility fits well, and I think that communication obviously keeps gaining ground in a positive manner because their approach again. It's always about the approach, right? And you guys have heard me talk about that, so I don't need to go into that tangent anymore. But the fact of the matter is that they work well together as a group because it starts with the communication, because it starts with how hard they work every day and their mindset that they approach it every day. And it was a challenge in OTAs. It was a challenge in camp, but we want those challenges to have to play multiple positions and play multiple spots, because when this does happen now, it's not a brand new experience, right? They have built-in experiences that they can move forward with.
How would you assess Liam's season? I mean, we've been everywhere on the offensive line. I know that predates you. Mm-hmm. It seemed like you guys stabilized him at center, and now he's asked to basically move to guard or play guard out of necessity. Could center experience help him become a better guard?
Absolutely. I think that yes, playing one spot and being able to own one spot, does that give you the ability to be better at that job? Absolutely. But it's kind of like this, and you hear about this, and I know I don't mean to go totally sidetracked, but I have a young son, and you want him playing as many sports as possible because the cross-training of things helps you be better athlete overall, right? And so when you're able to do other positions on the line of scrimmage, there's applications and there's eye-opening experiences that allow you to become better at what you do. So I think that his capacity to do more things is making him better, and then throughout the weeks, and we can channel it in one spot, but the experiences from being at center can make him a better guard. Does that
Yes.
make sense?
Just out of sheer curiosity, which sport do you think lends itself to the footwork of offensive line play the best?
Interesting question. People have always said wrestling because of the balance. I think you could take application from both. Then there's a lot of people who say pass protection and how you play defensive basketball would have application in terms of how you're trying to move your feet, leverage to the hoop, and the guy with the ball, because that's pass protection. So there's a lot of things you can take from every sport. In hockey, I know the movement would be different, but understanding how to leverage and have spatial awareness. So every sport, there's application you can take and move it to offensive line or move it to any sport, really. I mean, started learning how to try to play tennis, getting my ass kicked by my wife, but But anyways.
I was gonna say, when I was talking years ago, I was talking to Orlando Brown Jr., he said his father told him that he should do wrestling and shot put. I don't know what shot put that would help with, but I guess maybe the
I was involved in track and field. I think that the explosive part and the transferring of the hips and the weight distribution and transferring weight applies. And so that would be probably, and you would train because it's an explosive manner. Your training is going to match how you would train as an offensive lineman. So I think those would be the traits that would carry over.
With Connor Williams, he's obviously had a good year when he's been healthy, and he's tough on himself when he has the occasional errant snaps. Mm-hmm. What has been your approach as a coach with him when that happens? Do you ride him in a positive way, more pushing him, angry way, and do you view his snapping at all as an issue?
Well, there's a lot to unpack in that question.
Yes.
So my point would be, hey, snap the ball better. No, I'm never going to make that coaching point, okay? So I think it's like anything the guy, knowing your personnel, that guy is very difficult on himself. So how can I help you? He's working at it. Now, if it was a guy that doesn't work at it and doesn't put extra time into it, then that would be a conversation. We need to put extra time into this. But he's putting a tremendous amount of extra time into it, and so it has happened, and he's constantly working to make it better. So I think working with him, talking through it with him, is the best approach in that manner, and get him to where he needs to go, so that is a very minimal time that it occurs.
Coach, I've been asking players, your offensive players, about the defenses that they face, and I wanted to ask you about 8-man fronts. How can you quantify how frequently you guys face them, as far as 20% less than most teams or 30% less? And I think I know why, but give me the reason that you don't face them as much.
Well, I think that I don't know the percentage. I don't know the percentage. To say that I would know, I would be lying. But one of the things that I think that defenses feel, they have to defend the whole field, and so the tighter you decide the more you open your coverage, or the tighter you make your coverage, has weak strengths and weaknesses. And so I think that if you're saying that we got to defend the whole field, that may lend to less 8-man fronts, right? And so I think that now, do you enjoy attacking both defenses? Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that lend itself to be advantageous, regardless of whatever that front structure is.
And it's because of you guys' speed and weapons, right? That you've got to protect against the explosives if you're a defense. Or is that not right?
I would think that you're lending in the right direction. Yeah.
Which there's obviously a tough assignment for Austin Jackson this week. But up to this point, is there a part of you that's proud of him and his development?
I'm proud of every guy I coach. I'm extremely proud of every guy I coach. I love that room, and I've told you guys that before. And they come to work every single day, and they put the time in, and they're all in on how we want to do things. I'm all in on them, and so to speak of the whole room, I know you're trying to single that out, but to speak on the whole room, I'm extremely grateful and proud of the way they approach every day.
But despite a lot of shuffling on the offensive line, you've kept this line together. How do you approach things when it seems like you haven't had your starting O-line all season, and you may never have that first starting five?
Re-ask that question. I understand what you stated, but ask the.
How do you approach things just knowing, okay, you haven't had that initial starting five that you anticipated in training camp, and then that you may not have it?
I think it's just something from the beginning. Like I told you guys, there were some challenging moments in OTAs, and you guys had asked me questions at that time. Guys were playing positions maybe that they hadn't played before, and so you have to work through that, right? And so you put yourself in tough situations, and you try to create game-like situations in practice, even if it's OTAs, for those guys. And I'm stressed, they're stressed, but in the end, they become stronger, they become better because of it. And I think that has been through Mike all the way down, that we have forced those situations.
I've seen offensive tackles transition into guard. Now, I know it's not an easy transition, but Kendall had played so well at tackle, in my opinion. Would it be a difficult transition for him to move inside to guard if need be?
There's always a transitional period for every guy that moves to what would be called a position that's out of the norm or out of the ordinary for them. But all the faith in the world and trust through everything that he has done and the group has done to be able to move guys wherever they need to go. And again, we've forced a lot of those issues, and sometimes your guys aren't always present, but forcing all those issues to occur situationally throughout practice. And so stressful at moments for all, but in the end, I think it factors for the best.